Hi, this is Mike of Nearly Enough Dice, and this is the Kerbal Space Program. I think I've worked out my problem with my lander slash rovers, my grasshopper landers. Let's wait for this to load up. And I'm going to load the latest iteration, which is Pallas 7. Now, what happened was, I was playing around with one of the new features of the latest version of Chaos, which I can't actually show you in the VAB, but which is resource transfers, right? So the problem I've been having with these particular landers is that, especially as they get very close to the end of their fuel, the whole thing gets suddenly unbalanced, and either one engine cuts out, and given on the lander there's 4 of them, right? So they all need to be balanced. So one cuts out, or only one has fuel left, or something really weird happens. I've been trying to work out what it was, and so I thought, oh well, obviously there's been a transfer thing. One of the new features of 0.17 of Chaos is resource transfers, so I'll just write a little routine that I can run that will balance the fuel between all the things. Okay, first thing I need to do is I need to find a way of finding out all the tanks, and I did that by going through the parts list of the rover and saying, if your dry mass is different from your wet mass, clearly you are a fuel tank of some sort. You have a resource that you can run out of. So list all those parts, and then I was going to go, okay, so now I'm going to see what resource I've got, and then I'm going to move them around. But I had a whole extra fuel tank that I didn't know about. I mean, you can see that I've got FLT 400s, right? But this whole extra fuel tank was coming up, and I didn't understand that. And I had also seen a little bit of this when I would go into the when you're flying, you get one of the options up the toolbar is what resources you've got, so you can see your electrical charge and your fuel and stuff. I would click on it, and it would say, oh, there's this fuel tank you don't know about with a level of fuel you don't like. What? And it made no sense. And so I had a look, because you can another new thing in Chaos 0.17 is that you can highlight parts. You can say, okay, could you highlight this part of my rocket green, so I know which part you're talking about. One of the suggestions, one of the things that's been used in the demo is, as fuel tanks change as they lose fuel, you color them differently. So they're green when they're nice and full, yellow when they're about half empty, and then red when they're about to run out. Stuff like that. So I did that. So okay, I'll color all the fuel tanks I know about. I'll color them green. I'll color the new one red. And I eventually found the thing. Hidden in this T400, there is in fact a T200 or something, or a smaller fuel tank. I think it's a T200. And I just didn't spot it. I mean, I've had this rover. This is since Pallas 6. I've had this rover, and somehow there has been this fuel tank just sitting there. And if I grab that, I grab the whole thing. I don't get just that fuel tank, which is obviously what I want. So that's a little irritating. I've had that this whole time, and that's probably why one... Oh man, I don't know whether it's like one of the engines always seems to have more fuel or sometimes less fuel, and I don't know whether it's because the whole thing's unbalanced, which means, especially when the RCS goes and it's trying to point to a particular place, I rather suspect that one of these, because it's unbalanced, one of the burner engines is probably working harder, which probably that takes fuel out, and then if the fuel tank counts as connecting to that engine is going to have extra fuel, and so on and so on and so forth. So I'm not quite right. I'm going to try and get into it by actually sticking my face. There we go. It's a T200. There we go. So now if I move out, that's the culprit. Now I do notice I actually lose a whole bunch of delta V because I had over 3,000 with that in, but it was horribly unbalanced delta V, which caused problems right at the end. Does raise some questions. About how much grasshoppering this grasshopper can now do. Because I've just taken away what? So that's got 180 in it. So 180 times 4. I've just taken away this one, which is another 90. So you know, it's a chunk. It's a chunk of fuel that I've taken out. It's, you know, well, it's an extra half tank. So instead of 4 lots of this fuel, I had 4.5. But it was horribly unbalanced, and that's going to have caused problems. So I'm hoping that will have fixed a few problems. So there you go. So while I'm here, I'm just going to call that Pallas 8. I'm going to grab... What am I going to grab? I'm going to grab the gravioli detector. Wow, the gravioli detector is tiny. So that's going to go on the science control panel somewhere. Right, what I'll do is I'll grab that and just move that down a bit. That should be enough. Where's it gone? So that's now got all the scientific instruments I have. It's less unbalanced, I hope. Oh, I was also going to change the... I was going to change the positioning of the lander legs. That's what I'm trying to say here. Lander legs. Because if you can see how much clearance it's got, and it doesn't need that much clearance to actually land. And in fact, that clearance is a problem. It actually, because that means that the center of gravity is quite high, or higher than it needs to be. Now I want some clearance because of the rocky, you know, the lumpy nature of the moon. Now these don't have to be all that symmetrically placed, so I'm not. So I might as well have the lander legs like that. That should be more than enough clearance, and that's going to lower the center of gravity, which means it can land on much slopier ground. And the panels should still be fine because the panels don't need to be right on the edge or anything, pointing at the end. They should still be nice and balanced in terms of where they're positioned, because they're radially symmetrical, and that should fix everything. If I was really worried, I'd chuck them on there or something. We'll probably shorten the thing even more, and I think I'm in fact going to, by going for the tanks, because you can see they're quite low down as well. And pulling that up exposes the bottom of the docking port better, so it can dock on a flatter thing. Whereas before, the docking port was kind of in the middle, so that wouldn't really work. Kind of gone in a bit in a way that I'm not very happy with, but the game seems to think it's alright. That's actually out in. Oh well, let's go back in again then. That feels like it's clipping, but I guess I don't have clipping. I don't have the clipping cheats turned on, so I only assume it's all right. Before I go anywhere. Start retracted. So that looks a bit weird, like that. Well, that should be alright. So there you go. That's that. However, I'm not going to fly that right now. I'm not going to fly that right now. What I am in fact going to do instead, let's start with do I want a hex? Don't really need to go all the way to Octo really for this. I'm going to start with a hex and see if I can remember where this is kept. Oh, next thing was something else. Basically, I'm just going to make a very small rover with some science on it because I now have a gravioli which I didn't have before. Actually, no. Before I do anything else, so I always forget this when I'm doing rovers. Let's put some batteries on, and we will put some solar panels on as well. And then wheels. And I think, yep, so I want mirrored symmetry for the wheels. And then mirror them around this way. Obviously, they're all pointing in stupid directions, so I'm going to need to put them in sensible directions. I'll stick a communitron. Communitrons are science. I'm just going to be rolling around the local areas. I don't really need much of anything. A little one will do. Now, speaking of science, I'll chuck one of those on. I think I've got all of those, in fact. I presume that's something I would want to stick on an airplane rather than a thing like this. But very tempted to chuck this on somewhere, but no. Not even going to bother to put on a computer core. This is just so I can get some gravioli measurements and get that little bit extra science. Suppose if I really care, I mean, this is going to be a one. Essentially, you'd have to move it. The way this would work is I'd have to move it to a place, recover it, start again, move it to another place, recover it, start again. Unless I made this in some way. Actually, what I could do. So I don't know. Which way do I think is forward? Well, actually, I don't know which way is forward on that thing. I think that's forward. Now, can I give this now? Can I give this a crew? No, despite right. No, I know what I'm going to do. Yes, I know what I'm going to do. So we're going to call this Science Rover. Actually, I already have Science Rovers. Got Science Base, Science Base, Science Base, Science Lander. I've got a simple Science Rover. So I'm just going to call this Science Rover. Cancel. Save launch. I should have put a ladder on this. I think my cunning plan is going to fail because I didn't put a ladder on it. First off, I want to make sure that it does in fact work and can go fronty way to backy way. Right, I think forwards is this way. Right, that means the seat is in fact pointing the wrong way. So that's a useful piece of information. And I can steer it. Right, it's going to grab the pressure data. Not going to get any science for it, but I'll keep it anyway. I'm going to grab the gravity data. 6 science, woo. I haven't bothered putting the temperature on because I'm pretty sure I've got all the temperature I'm ever going to need. And now we're going to recover the vessel because I want to put a ladder on it or something. Because the plan is to grab a Kerbal. And the Kerbal, that way, the Kerbal is going to be able to grab the information from the gravioli detector, and the game has crashed. That's really aggravating. Never mind. Right, so I uncrashed the game and recovered, so hey. Right, command share. Point the wrong way. Oh, there we go. That apparently is forwards, that way. Ladder. Ladder, ladder, ladder. That's the one I want. Yes, what? Don't know if it's okay with pronging itself straight to the ground, but anyway. Right, so we'll turn it off. Save. That's not save, that's the exact opposite of save. Launch! Launch. And by launch, I mean stick on the landing platform. Not really going to go anyway. Well, it's not going to go. It's not that kind of launch. Right, here we go. Forwards. Got a bit of a huge turning circle of mine. Down the ramp. Not really that exciting. And we'll turn off. And we'll park it here. There we go. Space Center. This is actually one of the things. This is there's obviously going to be a slightly roundabout way of doing things. It would be quite nice if you could just maybe there's a way of doing this. I don't know. What I want to do is I want to get a Kerbal out there to go in there, climb up the ladder, sit in the chair. I should have extended the ladder. Right, so I'm going to make no. So basically, I just want a Kerbal to walk out, climb up the ladder, sit in the chair, and slightly daftly, this seems to be the only way to do it, which is to just I should have checked to see that whether that was going to be Kerbal. I think they automatically. I think it should automatically have done it, but I may have to go back and put someone in there. But it'd be nice if you could just kind of like send a Kerbal out of the space center and go for a walk. There's someone in there. Harford. Hello, Harford. I haven't seen you in a while. EVA. And then let go. And go for a total. Now I'm going to have to swap back to that craft because I forgot to extend the ladder before heading down. Time warp again. Stop. Now, I'm just going to see whether the ladder is in fact necessary. I think it is. Oh, can I board it? Oh, okay, didn't need a ladder. Sweet. So now, log gravity data. I'm still on the launch pad apparently, but I'll keep the data. Now I can't, right, so what happens if I leave the seat? Yes, it looks like I'm going to have to leave the seat, take the data, and then board. Sweet. Then remember to take the brakes off. So now I just kind of wander about. I should have put a flight computer on this. Because flight computers can tell me whether I'm in a different biome, which I can't do normally. So log gravity data on from the crawlway. Keep data. What can you do from here? You can control from here, leave seat, rename room, take surface sample. I think I've taken surface samples from. Oh, I haven't actually. I was saying, you know, I thought he might have taken. I thought we had taken surface samples, so from everywhere to the extent that we just don't need everything. But yeah, the interesting thing is I can't. Although I can leave the chair. Leave seat, yeah. I can't store things in the chair in like you can with a capsule, but he can store quite a lot of things himself personally. So he's going to be my repository of science. So anyway, I'm just going to spend some time doing that, wandering around all the various places that I can wander into. Oh, look at all that. And grab all the data I can grab, and then have horror forward here, grab it, keep it all, and then recover and hopefully get. I mean, basically, I'm on 529. I need to get up to 550 to get the next level of science. And so that's what I'm aiming to do, is get up to 550 and get as many of the biomes around campus essentially as I can. So thanks very much for watching. Like and subscribe and share if you've been enjoying these videos. It's always going quite fast. You can find Nearly Enough Dice at nearlyenoughdice.com, where we have a role-playing game themed podcast and blog, and we're also on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. You can search us around there. Oh, brakes. And until we meet again, reach for the stars.